Many people who absorb other people's emotions believe that they're doing something loving, maybe even generous, and we describe such people as empathetic, emotionally intelligent, or the one who understands everyone. But internally, such people might feel strangely disconnected from themselves because they notice it. When someone is upset, their body reacts immediately, their chest tightens, their thoughts speed up. There's an almost irresistible urge to fix. So only when the other person finally calms down, we feel relief. This is not empathy. It is emotional absorption. And this video is about why that happens, what keeps it going, how to stop absorbing other people's emotions without becoming cold or shut down. Important disclaimer before we go further. In dialectical behavior therapy, there's a core axiom. People may not have caused all of their problems, but they have to solve them anyway. We have to solve these problems. And this axiom holds two truths at the same time. Yes, our parents, families, early environments may have contributed to many of the emotional patterns that we struggle with today. Many of these patterns formed when we were children before we had any awareness. And at the same time, waiting for our parents to change, it keeps us stuck. Some parents simply do not have the capacity to change. They may lack insight, emotional regulation, and continuing to hope that they will change, it just extends our suffering. So this video is not about blaming parents, and it's not about fixing them, and it's not about proving who is right or wrong. It's about understanding how these patterns formed so that you can change how you participate in your emotional systems right now. What absorbing emotions actually is. It means that other people's emotional states feel like your responsibility. For example, your partner is anxious, you feel uneasy until they calm down. When your parent is disappointed, you feel guilty even if you did nothing wrong. Your friend is stressed and you can't relax until you help them feel better. You may notice that you automatically monitor other people's facial expressions. You often sense tension in a room before anything is said. Why this happens? It's because your nervous system learned early that emotional shifts matter a lot. And in many anxious and immature families, one child becomes emotional stabilizer. They feel that they're responsible for emotional peace. So taking responsibility for other people's emotions usually looks socially appropriate and it is rewarded. It looks like, for instance, you're rewriting texts to avoid upsetting someone, you're apologizing when you did nothing wrong, or you explain yourself excessively so that everyone understands you, because you feel responsible for other people's disappointment, something that is outside of your control. So as you see on the screen, there are three circles. At the center are the things you can control: your thoughts, your actions, your boundaries, your values. The middle circle includes what you can influence a bit. It's communication, your tone, your presence. And the outer circle includes what you cannot control, people's emotions, reactions. So when you absorb emotions, you're living in the outer circle. And anxiety increases because your nervous system is trying to manage what it cannot control. What this anxiety is actually about. So people often assume that those who absorb emotions are anxious about other people. In reality, the anxiety is usually about what will happen to the self if the other person remains distressed. So at the core, this fear often sounds like, if they stay upset, I may lose the relationship. Or if they are angry, I may be punished or rejected. Or if they fall apart, it will be my fault and I will feel guilty. And these fears often form early when emotional upset led to withdrawal or rage of another person. And nervous system learned that distress is dangerous. You need to fix it as quickly as possible. Bowen described psychological health through the concept of differentiation of self, its capacity to stay emotionally connected while maintaining a clear sense of self. In anxious family system, this differentiation is low. One person's anxiety destabilizes the entire system. Differentiation is on spectrum. On one side, you see enmeshment. It's emotional fusion, overfunctioning, absorbing others' feelings. On the other side, you see emotional cutoff. It's withdrawal, no contact. So Bowen emphasized that these are not opposites. There are two strategies for managing the same anxiety. So healthy differentiation lives somewhere in the middle. Emotional cutoff can reduce immediate stress, and it does, but it often leaves the emotional process unresolved. You have unfinished business. Even after cutting contact, you still see similar patterns in other relationships. So Bowen said that unresolved emotional processes are even transmitted through generations. Differentiation is about staying in contact without being controlled by other people's emotions. What is very important is to understand what empathy is. It's being present with pain without taking it on or minimizing it. And absorption happens when your own discomfort with someone else's emotions becomes so intolerable that you are putting this emotion in yourself and you start regulating it for them. So this is where self-empathy becomes super important. When you notice your activation and you respond with understanding instead of that urgency. Alan Frazzetti emphasizes that self-validation is the foundation of emotional regulation. What it is. You're saying to yourself, it makes sense that I'm anxious. My nervous system learned that this stress was dangerous. I do not need to act on this feeling. So you give yourself understanding, taking pause before acting on your urge to fix another person's emotions. A softer tone, grounded posture, it all tells your nervous system that there's no emergency and no urgency. And this is the point where we need to talk about countertransference. Countertransference refers to emotional responses that arise in reaction to another person's unconscious emotional material. If you suddenly feel emotions that are unusual for you, like intense shame or panic or rage, these feelings do not match your typical reactions. If they do not, they may belong to someone else. So as you see here, emotion can move through a relational field without words. When boundaries are weak, one person becomes the container for another person's unprocessed feelings. And countertransference is not a call to fix it, but it is information about what is going on with another person. And the task is to notice it, name it, and return the ownership. Absorption versus empathy. Absorption collapses nervous system. Absorption says, I feel this for you. And empathy says, I can feel it with you. Why absorbing is a disservice to others. When you rush in to regulate someone else's emotions, you implicitly communicate that they cannot cope. So this interrupts emotional development and it reinforces trauma dumping, dependency. Even with awareness, absorption will still happen. So when it does, you need to name it, return ownership, ground your body, reestablish internal boundaries. You need to come back to yourself. If you learn to absorb emotions, it was adaptive because you were in anxious systems. Healing requires differentiation. True empathy allows being close without losing yourself. What is very important is to understand that when you are empathetic towards another person, it means that you can be near them. You understand that they're going through something very difficult and you understand what emotion they're going through. But it doesn't mean that you are experiencing their emotion with the same intensity. This is absorption. It's not empathy. And you can change it. But for that, you need to constantly self-validate yourself through self-talk and learn to notice how urges to fix another person's emotions come up. You have body sensations, you have thoughts that make you understand that the urge is coming. Like any other urge, this will pass. And while taking a pause from running to fix another person, you need to talk to yourself and tell yourself that you are not taking this inside. You're living it to another person, and if you can, you're near to be with them and support them in learning to cope with their difficult emotions themselves. This is respect for another person's autonomy in emotion regulation and emotion socialization and differentiation.